Two developers race against time with a 24-hour deadline to develop a complete game. Communication is allowed, so will we end up with a decent game or an absolute flop? I have a brand new community Discord server, link is at the top of the description if you're interested in joining, and don't forget to subscribe. So if you couldn't tell already by the title of the video, me and Xade decided to go for a zombie game. I decided to do some research. There was one game that stood out the most, which had about 2,000 concurrent players, so I checked it out, which was decent, but I got bored very quickly, as I ended up shooting about 4 mags into one zombie, so yeah, that wasn't fun. So with that whole 5 minutes of research done, we decided to just use The Walking Dead as reference anyways. I decided to start prepping things for Xade to work on. So the first things were the typical animations. I made a basic baseball bat, which I ended up scrapping later on and replacing. And I yoinked a zombie from the toolbox, which Xade decided to delete and get a different one. I made around like 3 variants of a hitting animation, just so there's a bit of variety when you're attacking. And I'm by no means no animator, so these definitely suck, but it is what it is. In terms of the UI, it's very simple for this game. We basically just needed a health bar, cash counter, and current wave text, which I ended up just yoinking from previous games, like the magic game from our previous video if you haven't seen already, which saves me a lot of time. So the zombies that Xade found on the toolbox actually happened to have animations, which I was quite happy with. They were lacking one animation, which was the hit animation. So I kind of edited an existing animation and just saved that as well. His head basically jolts back, so when you smack him with a weapon, he'll kind of feel the impact. It's quite satisfying to hit them. Yeah, it definitely took me a couple of attempts to get this animation to look okay, even though it is simple. He just ended up looking like he was, well, brainless, I suppose. But with that being said, Xade pretty much has everything he needs to get working, so let's shift over to him.
Hello, it's General Xade again, and Reakol told me that can we make a zombie game? I said, yeah, why not? And he told me it's a first person. This is my first time working on a first person game in Roblox, but after some research and watching a bit of tutorials, we have a working first person character which works pretty well. You can rotate to all directions and just few lines of code. To kill zombies we need weapons, so I started to work on the weapon system. And this is the first basic weapon. You can pick it up and you can use it. Reakol has made some animations, and now we have animations that play when you use the bat. They're pretty cool. And now we polish the combat. I mean, what is a zombie game without zombies? So we decided to work on some zombies. I made my own state machine from scratch. It was pretty fun to do. I'll probably do some tutorials in the future about that. So the zombies have different states and they can attack when they are close to you, and they'll come at you if you're far away. I did a bit more improvements, and now we can attack the zombies and they can play some 8 animations, which was pretty cool. So I decided to test the zombies AI as a horde, and this looks pretty cool. You know, the zombies can chase you. This is giving me some The Walking Dead vibe, which is terrifying, but the zombies can chase you and you can deal damage to them, and you can also deal damage to a bunch of zombies at the same time, which is very satisfying.
Xade has made some significant progress towards the AI, so it was time for me to get some visuals going. I started off with some modular roads, which I just ended up using parts in engine, as I didn't really feel the need to use Blender. I also yoinked to the material variant I made in the survival game, so we have a bit more of a stylized aesthetic. And with the roads out the way, I started making some basic city props like a stop sign, barricade, and a lamppost to start with. I hopped back in studio to mess around with some lighting, including adding a point light to the lamppost. Yeah, I'm also not great with lighting, but my goal was just to make it very dark and add some fog, so you can only see zombies when they're somewhat close to you. It just makes the game that little bit more scary. At this point, I was pretty satisfied with the lighting, so I decided to test play. And I didn't realize that Xade actually left one zombie spawning, so I did the unthinkable and beat him to a pulp.
Finish him!
What's better than beating up one zombie? Beating 20. So I found a couple of sound effects from the toolbox, of course, and got Xade to implement them. So now we have sounds for zombies growling, hitting zombies with a bat, zombies dying, background music, and a few other things. And yeah, it's becoming quite a satisfying game. All we really need now is some visual effects, and the combat is pretty much sorted. But anyways, I should probably stop killing these zombies as it's bullying at this point. So I cooked up a few more generic assets to place around in the little city. Also exported the zombie model, decimated it so it's a lower poly count, and put it in a couple different positions just so I can place them around as inanimate objects. You see this quite often in different zombie games. I have a fair few assets now, so I went ahead and started on the layout of the city. I started off by using my modular road kit just to make some generic random layout, and then proceeded with copy and pasting all my props throughout the level, with the idea that I want a post-apocalyptic feeling, just like the area's been ransacked, so fallen over cones, a bunch of rubbish, fire, and things like that. I got to a point where I was pretty satisfied with what I had, but I'll continue to develop it once I add the buildings.
Now the best part of game dev, juicing time. I decided to juice up the combat by adding a little bit of screen shake when you hit the enemy and its effects, and this made the combat very satisfying. I promise I won't go too technical in this video, but yeah, this was pretty good to make. I made my own systems which I can reuse in other games, and man, I love Roblox. When you kill the zombies, you earn some money, but there was no use for it. So I made a shop where you can buy weapons. Trust me, this is a very unique mechanics, never seen in any game before. After a little bit of more coding, this is what we have. We have more juice, enemies now spat blood when they get hit. And I made a wave system, which uses my state machine. Working on this fast-paced project, really improves my programming skills, and I'm like so buffed right now. But yeah, this game is so satisfying, and I would love to take this game to further heights.
At this point, we had enough content within the game to actually playtest, so we decided to run a couple of team tests so we can find bugs and stuff. The game actually turned out to be quite fun. Me and Xade did encounter some bugs.
I'm damaging myself as well.
Okay. Overall, the game's quite enjoyable. There's only a couple things left that I want to do, and that's add buildings and add a different weapon type. And I did just that. Started making a couple of very generic buildings, which, come to think of it, now I could have done something way better, but oh well. But once the buildings were done, it was all a matter of copy and paste. So I started surrounding the map with barbed wire fences, and just overall adding a lot more props, placing spawn points in hidden areas, so zombies can kind of come from all locations. I also may have yoinked some cars from the toolbox, but it's fine. And yeah, with all that said and done, this is pretty much the final outcome of the level. It's very generic, but with the lighting and the zombies and things, you don't really pay attention to the terrible details. It's actually quite a fun level to play through. So here we are in the actual game. You can see we've got a lot more ambience now. We've got crickets, we've got music in the background, added a lighting effect on the baseball bat. I also replaced the baseball bat. And zombies come from all directions. Of course, there is a bunch of different sound effects, like when they attack, when you get hit, you bleed. And it's also very satisfying to beat them up. I also made a different weapon variant, so we also have the katana. So the baseball bat is free, so you can buy it as a starter. And if I walk over here, we have a katana right here, which costs about 1,000 cash. So the goal is essentially to survive as many waves as you can, stack up a bunch of cash, similar to Call of Duty Zombies, if anyone knows it. Zombies also still seem to lack any form of intelligence. So I guess it makes this game realistic, right? But he seems to be struggling to get past this fence. I've been looking for these guys for ages. They were stuck behind a building. Nice. But yeah, once you kill the final zombie, the wave ends, a sound plays, and you're now on wave 2. I'm going to go ahead and get to 1,000 coins here so I can buy the katana and show that off as well. Okay, so I'm finally on 1,000 cash, so I can buy the katana now. I go ahead and hold E and buy this, and I have the katana. This katana also has different sound effects, and it also does a lot more damage. So now I can slash through all of these like they're nothing. That is a big pool of blood, and my FPS just dropped a bunch. But with that being said, this game's actually pretty good for the time frame we actually made it in. There's of course a lot more we could do, like add a variety of different zombies, maybe some that climb up walls, some that are on fire and things like that, crawlers, bloaters and things of that nature, and of course a lot more weapons. With that being said, that's the game pretty much complete. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and comment any video suggestions that you have for us in the future. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.